What's going on, everybody? We are back again to do a new video, and this is something that I do every once in a while on this channel. Last one I did, I think, was in like November, and these are basically currently reading videos. Pretty much throughout the year, I'm always in the middle of like several volumes of manga, but during a year, I'll pick up a bunch of stuff that came out at around the same time, and five of those I'll put together into a I've been reading video, or rather a currently reading video, because the I've been readings are usually like specific to a certain genre. Like I've been reading rom-com manga, and I've been reading lewd manga. I've actually got another I've been reading in the works that I'll probably be dropping in the next like maybe month or two. This video itself was supposed to drop at the beginning of March, but I've just had the busiest like last like couple of months, and it's just been absolutely hectic. I've been working like 6 days a week, and it's been really difficult for me to get videos out for this channel. And this is something that I really did want to drop at the beginning of March. There was one volume I was waiting on that was going to be the last volume I needed to read, and I would have been able to get this video out, and then just like everything that could, just mess me up ended up happening. However, we're still going to hopefully be able to get this out in March. Today is like March 18th, I think. So I don't want to take too much longer to talk about all this stuff, right here in the opening. And if you've read any of these, I'd love to know about it. This is my March. I've been reading, so let's fan these out and we'll talk about them. So I'm pretty sure I talked about this volume in a video that I did. Which one was it that I talked about this in? My haul, I think. The last haul that I did, I think I talked about Oshi No Ko, and I said I wasn't like a huge fan of it, and well, that still stands. There is for the most part, like, my opinion has changed in that I read at first like half of this manga and I didn't like it. And for the most part, like the beginning of it, the first like 100 or so pages, to me, I still think that they're not well. I don't know so much that it's that they're not well written. It's just that it's kind of boring, and like I couldn't care less about the characters, and I don't want to say too much for spoiler reasons because it's so easy to spoil the story. And I don't know if it's like a twist or not, the thing that, I don't want to spoil, or if it's, I know there's a trailer out for the anime, because there's an anime coming out. I don't know if it's already out already. I really don't watch a lot of anime, so I don't know what's going on in the anime sphere. Like, I had no idea the Ayakashi Triangle anime was even out until like it was on like episode 5 or something. I knew there was one coming, but I didn't know it was already out. And like same deal with this, like I don't know, if this anime is already out or not, and if people know what the thing is, but I'm just going to assume you don't. So I'm just going to say that there's a thing that happens with this girl right here who is an idol, and I kind of like, the one thing that I did like about this is that while she is an idol, she doesn't really take it particularly seriously, in the sense that, like this for her is an act, like she isn't this person, and I like that a lot, like that, she goes on stage and she puts on this face right here, but this isn't who she is in real life. And that's something that I can connect with as somebody that's worked in like customer service, and you deal with people, you work in any kind of situation where you're around customers and you have people that are pretty much like in your face 24/7. Like if you work in a restaurant or a bar or whatever, you have to put on a face and you have to be someone that you're not. And then when you get out of that situation, then you can, release it. So this is the same situation here with her, only that she's on a much grander scale because she is an idol. And I'm pretty sure everybody watching this knows, what idols are. I don't need to explain to you what an idol is. So she is an idol, and because of that, and especially, like with idol culture in Japan, you pretty much cannot have a boyfriend. You can't have any kind of romantic relationship with anyone whatsoever, because your fans will be disappointed and they will stop cheering you on. They will stop buying your merchandise or whatever, and you're not going to make any money. So that's going to end up hurting you And that's the last thing you want, especially if that's like how you want to, make your living, or if you're young and you got sucked into it when you're like 17 years old or something, and that's the only life you've known. Like, it's the only revenue source that and it's hard to stop living a certain lifestyle. So you have to keep, maintaining being this thing. And that's the situation with our lead here, whose name is Ai, and she gets into a specific kind of a trouble. And there are also like 2 other leads and a bunch of like side characters and whatnot in Oshi No Ko. And this also reminded me of like the beginning of like idol culture in Japan. I cannot remember this dude's like full name, but there's this guy who I think his name is Bjorn. I think he's still alive. His name is like Bjorn something, and I'll post a picture of him on this side of the screen. And he was like the original idol or something like that. Like, he was like the most beautiful boy in the world. And there's like a bunch of media in Japan that I think even now still, is centered around him, or like, has likenesses that are super similar to the way that he looked when he was younger. Now he's like really old, he's like white haired and whatnot. He doesn't look anything, like the way he looked in like whatever the 60s, 70s, whenever it was that, he was super popular. And even then he was like, what the hell is this? Like, how did I get myself roped up into this? And it even like, I haven't seen his documentary yet, because I know there's a documentary about him. And I was thinking about that when I was reading this. And yeah, like the first part of it, like I just could not care about any of the characters. I found them all extremely annoying. I even found her annoying. But I mean, like, I related to, the aspect of it where like she puts on a face. And like, it wasn't until like halfway through it, like I'd stopped reading it because I just could not get into it. And then it was like halfway through it where I ultimately started to like her a lot more. And I started to like the story a little bit more. The characters, there's 2 young characters in it that like kind of, grow up watching her. And as they get older, they start becoming a little less annoying. And, you see more of her, and you see more of her like real personality, and it gets a lot better. And there's like this thing that happens that I did not expect to happen. And for the most part, like, yeah, I didn't like the first half of this book, but then the second half of this manga got a lot better. And I think it is, for the most part, a solid story. Like I said, just the beginning I couldn't get into, but I ended up just saying, you know what, screw it. I paid for it. I want to see it all the way through, because I don't like leaving things like halfway. When I start reading something, like, I want to finish it, even if I don't like it, just to say that I finished it. And it ended up being a lot better than I thought it was ultimately going to be. I thought it was going to suck the whole way through. And it got a lot better, and I ended up ordering Volume 2. So yeah, let's see how Volume 2 is. Maybe Volume 2 will be even better, and I'll become, like, a fan, because I did like this dude's other story, Kaguya-sama Love is War. Like, I love Kaguya-sama Love is War, and that's pretty much, for the most part, the reason that I even got Oshi No Ko for that. And, I like that this takes shots at the entertainment industry, and like the way that it chews people up and, uses them. And it's the same deal in Hollywood. Hollywood's the same exact thing, like the Hollywood industry, like, eats you up the same way that it probably does in Japan. And yeah, I thought that was a really solid look into that aspect of it, dressed up as like these cutesy story, with like the cover here, it's all like cute, and then you kind of see like the dark underbelly of the real, entertainment industry. So next up we've got Ayashimon by Yuji Kaku, and I really like Yuji Kaku's other story, which was Hell's Paradise. And Hell's Paradise was a story that ran for like 14 or so volumes, if I'm not mistaken. I think 13 or 14. And there's an anime that, I don't know if the anime is out yet, or if it's going to be out like at some point in the next month or two. But the manga for Hell's Paradise was absolutely bananas. And Yuji Kaku got to do another series for Viz Shonen Jump, and that was this story right here, Ayashimon, which sadly got canceled. And I think it's only going to be like 2 or 3 volumes, because there was only like 30 chapters or something like that before it got canceled. And I'm currently right now in the middle of volume 1, but I've really enjoyed this so far. Or like there's this really interesting dynamic between these 2 characters right here, with this dude being a human being and this girl right there being a I guess a demon, if you will. And they kind of link up because she wants to create her own sort of like Yakuza house, and it's just the two of them. But like he is super duper strong, and it's hilarious. He's like a One Punch Man, Saitama type of dude where he wants to just fight like super duper like strong people, and he gets beat up and then immediately like hits back, and he hits back even harder than how hard he was hit. And it's really funny, like the dichotomy, of these characters, and the situation that they are in. And I really do wish that it was allowed to go on for longer, even though I'm only in the middle of this first one. Well, I also don't think it's nearly as good as Hell's Paradise, because Hell's Paradise almost right off the bat was just like 0 to 1,000. You know what I mean? It broke the barrier and just went way over the top. And Hell's Paradise was like you never knew who was gonna die at one point. It was just no holds barred, zero cares given. It was just ruthless as all hell. And this is like a lot more toned down because I think it was like created for teenagers, whereas like Hell's Paradise was a mature, and it was super duper mature. That was a mature read. But this is still, I think it's still good. And Yuji Kaku has like such great artwork that I'm kind of bummed that it wasn't allowed to go on for longer, but I do recommend checking it out. I do recommend reading it, just to support Yuji Kaku. And I'm sure he was bummed, to have this story be taken down. I'm sure he put like a ton of work and a ton of like, thought and effort into trying to bring this new story to life, only to, have it crushed beneath him. And it is a shame, because I could have seen this story, gaining traction maybe later on. Maybe it's just like a slow to start. Not everything is immediately super popular. It's sometimes like it takes a while for a story to get going, and then after a while it really like builds up a fan base. But it's like the Netflix thing where like they pull the plug immediately. A show will get one season and then it'll never get a season 2. And it feels like Shonen Jump's kind of doing the same thing with a bunch of series, where like they'll pull the plug after like so many chapters, or there'll be like 20-30 chapters of a series, and then the plug will be pulled. And sadly that was the case with Ayashimon. But I still recommend buying these volumes. There's only going to be like 2 or 3 of them, so I mean it's not going to take up a lot of space on your shelf. And the artwork is solid, and like I said, I really like these characters. I like their whole thing, where like she seems like she's a lot of fun, or like she just kind of wants to use this dude because he is like super strong, and he just wants a good fight. That's all he wants. He just wants a good fight, and they kind of they work well together. They work in tandem. So it's gonna be I think it's gonna be a good read, going forward. And sadly, it's probably gonna cliffhanger because there's never gonna be any more story. And so those are my thoughts on it. I hope that you enjoy this. If you haven't read it yourself, definitely worth checking out, or even read, Hell's Paradise, because I think Hell's Paradise was a wild story. I did a video about it too, like a year ago at this point. But yeah, it bums me out, man, because Yuji Kaku is a pretty solid mangaka. Alright, let's talk about Shy. I didn't like the story. I mean, it's not bad. It's not badly written. It's just... it's not bad. It's not badly written. It just wasn't for me. Like, I just couldn't care less. I couldn't care less about any of the characters. So this is this character right here is named Shy, and she is for the most part shy, and she's like super, I guess we kind of want to say that she's introverted. She's not really like super duper outgoing, but they kind of paint it like she's eventually probably going to get stronger, and she's going to come out of her shell more. She's like a Gomi can't communicate, only she does communicate because she is a superhero, and she never feels like she's adequate enough. She doesn't feel like she's doing enough at any point, and she feels like it's her fault, when people get hurt, because there's a thing with a girl who gets hurt and she couldn't really do more, or she feels like she couldn't do more, even though the girl tells her like, it's not your fault, you did the best of your, to the best of your ability, you tried to help me, and what happened, and it was going to happen regardless. And I thought it was okay. Like, the characters weren't that deep. Like, it's it's subpar. Like, no part of it. I mean, the artwork I enjoyed. I thought the artwork was good. I think the artwork is good, but for the most part, like, yeah, the story itself is kind of subpar. Like, I didn't care about any of these characters, and it's like I get it. You know, like, I'm a person who has anxiety, and like I've dealt with anxiety for like most of my life, and it's sometimes like in social situations I don't know what to say, and like I tense up, I freeze up, and so it's one of those things that like I can personally relate with, but like this doesn't feel like it's geared towards, you know, like this is geared to me, in my opinion. I think it's geared towards like maybe like 13, 14-year-old girls or something, you know, that maybe have anxiety, and like maybe they'll relate to it a little bit more. But for me, yeah, I couldn't relate to it, and ultimately I'm not going to pick up any more of it. Like I said, it's not a bad story. The way it cliffhangered makes it seem like, oh yeah, you know, there's going to be this big conflict, but you already know this is one of those things where, like, of course this character is going to come out on top because she's supposed to come out on top. Otherwise, there is no there is no manga. You know what I mean? So yeah, I don't want to hate on it because I don't want to hate on any manga because I feel like that's a dick move on my part. But I mean, I'm sure there's people out there that probably loved it because I saw the score that it had, like, you know, Amazon like ratings or whatever, and it looked like a lot of people liked it. And before I even read it, I pre-ordered Volume 2, but I canceled my Volume 2 pre-order. And yeah, I mean, if you like this story, that's cool. I mean, to each their own. There's a lot of stuff that I like that other people don't like. So, I mean, everybody's entitled to their opinion, and we all have different ones because we are varied human beings with varied tastes and personalities. So, yeah, on to the next one. We got Sweet Poolside by Shuzo Oshimi, and I am in the middle of this one as well. I'm in the middle of the story right now. I don't want to show you panels from this. Maybe I'll like select some panels and show them to you. You know, just that I find. I'll show you some panels that are a little bit less, I guess, they're a little more inoffensive. But this being a Shuzo Oshimi story, I feel like you kind of already know what you're going to get yourself into with anything and everything that this man puts out. Either it's going to be extremely gross, or it's going to be extremely depressing, or it's going to be a combination of the two. Like in stories like Happiness, or God, I was trying to Inside Mari, you know, different stories like that. Like, his stories are always either one extreme, or they're another extreme, or they're a combination of extremes. And currently my favorite story by this dude is one called Welcome Back, Alice. I think that is an extremely well written story, and I think the next volume is the last one. So it's like something like, what, 5 volumes deep or whatever, which isn't bad. You know, I think it's a good run to have a story go for that long. But some of his other ones, like, they're still ongoing. I think Blood on the Tracks is still ongoing. And this is an interesting one because our lead here has one of our leads. We have two leads. There's a boy and a girl, and our lead girl here has like a lot of body hair, and like she's ashamed of the fact that she has a lot of body hair. And then our lead boy has like zero body hair other than like his eyebrows and, you know, like the hair on his head. And so I was thinking at first that like maybe he had like alopecia, or however that's pronounced. And I don't think it is, unless it works differently for certain people, where like you have, I don't know if there's like degrees of it, where like maybe you just don't have hair in certain areas, like maybe like you can't grow facial hair like whatsoever, but you can, you know, grow hair from your scalp. I don't know how that works. I've never really done any research into it, so I don't know if it's like full on you have zero hair at all, or if it's like selective where you can have hair in certain places but maybe not in others. I don't know how that works, but I was thinking that maybe that's what, you know, was up with the lead boy in this, where like he has where he pretty much just like has like, you know, his eyebrows and, you know, the hair on his head, and then he's otherwise like completely hairless, and they make fun of him. The other characters in the story make fun of him. He's on the swim team. She is also on the swim team. They work out like an agreement where like he, I guess at some point in time, like he begins to shave her. Like he begins to like, I think he shaves her legs and he shaves her arms or something, which is like the most Shuzo Oshimi way of telling a story. It's so weird and creepy, but it's like oddly almost romantic, I guess, if you will. It's oddly almost romantic because this dude just loves testing the waters and loves doing just the weirdest, creepiest things, and somehow making it even like slightly remotely endearing. And yeah, this story is bananas. I'm picking up like two more of his stories. I've got Shino Can't Say Her Name on the way, and then also I'm getting Yumeko. I forgot what the full length is. The full name is of that one, Yumeko. It's about this girl that draws penises, like what's his name in Superbad. But yeah, I mean, if you pick this up, for the most part, I'd say if you like Shuzo Oshimi, because if you don't like Shuzo Oshimi and you pick this up, you're going to be like, what the hell am I reading? And I feel like that's, for the most part, the biggest reason to pick this up is like if you're already a Shuzo Oshimi fan, because if you're not already a Shuzo Oshimi fan and you pick up Sweet Poolside, I feel like you're going to be like, what the hell am I reading? Because even as a Shuzo Oshimi fan, I'm sitting there like, what in the hell am I reading? But it's like, okay, yeah, you kind of expect it because of who it is, and it makes it funny, and it makes it interesting. Because you already know that he's going to come out with some, like, out-of-the-box, like, what's even going on, what is the situation, this makes no sense. This dude is, like, the Chuck Palahniuk of Japanese writing, so yeah, those are my thoughts on Sweet Poolside by Shuzo Oshimi. Alright, so this is the last one we got here. This is 17 through 21 by the man, the myth, the legend, Tatsuki Fujimoto. And I've read like 3 of the stories in this. I don't know how many there are in here, but it gave me like PTSD radio vibes. And it also reminded me of another story that I can't remember off the top of my head right now. But maybe through the course of talking about it, maybe I'll remember. But this was a hell of a lot of fun. It is so far because I haven't finished it yet. I still have like how many ever stories that I still have to read. But I read 3 of them, and I really liked the first one a lot, which I cannot remember the name of, so I'm going to pull it up real quick. Right here. A couple clucking chickens were kicking in the schoolyard. This story right here, this is the opener, I think was something else, and kind of instilled in me that I almost called him Shuzo Oshimi, and kind of instilled in me that Tatsuki Fujimoto is legitimately insane. I believe that this man is insane, but I also think he's a genius. I genuinely believe that Tatsuki Fujimoto is an absolute genius. The man is one of the greatest storytellers that is alive right now. And not just, for Chainsaw Man. And one thing that bugs the hell out of me, and I don't know if it's the same deal in Japanese, but that before Chainsaw Man thing bugs the hell out of me, because I feel like it's saying that like that's the only thing that he's known for, even though he's been around before Chainsaw Man. He did Fire Punch, which I have up there. I have Fire Punch right there, and then I also have Chainsaw Man right next to it. But the man is way more prolific than, Chainsaw Man. Fire Punch came before Chainsaw Man, and you see his like just love for cinema in Fire Punch with this character that I think Toga is the character's name. Toga or Togata? I can't remember, what that character's name was. But you see his love of cinema so much in that, and then you see it again in like Goodbye Eri, and I think even like Look Back had some shots that looked like they could have been, a part of a film, because the way that he draws, the way that he sets up his framing feels so cinematic, and everything that he does, even Chainsaw Man. Like if you just like watch the anime, you may not really see it as much unless like we're talking like the opening of Chainsaw Man, where there's all those references to different films, with the characters from Chainsaw Man enacting different scenes from different films. But even in Chainsaw Man, like his framing, the way he does everything is super cinematic, and there's just a really unique art style that Tatsuki Fujimoto employs, and it is wonderfully done, and it matches with his ability to just set up some of the most wild scenes, and then have like these payoffs that are just like I wouldn't have even thought that was a thing that somebody would have concocted. And there's one scene in one of the stories here that actually really 100% reminded me of a film. There's this film called Man Bites Dog, which is a French film, and it's about a serial killer. And that scene in the cover, I'll show you the cover for Man Bites Dog, and then I'll show you the screen. I'll show you a screen from the story in this that like reminded me of Man Bites Dog. So I wouldn't be surprised like whatsoever if that was intentional. Like if Tatsuki Fujimoto watched Man Bites Dog and was inspired by it and like put it into his film. But Quentin Tarantino is probably one of my favorite filmmakers of all time, if not my favorite filmmaker of all time. And I'm a huge movie buff. Right now I'm wearing a Pearl shirt. I don't know if you guys watch a lot of movies or not, but Pearl is a film that recently came out by a dude named Ty West, and the lead actress here, who is Mia Goth, and they put out Pearl. I think is one of the best recent films that I've seen, and I watch a lot of movies. Like I'm a huge movie buff, and if you watch enough of my videos, you'll see that I make a lot of references to film. Like I'll be reading a manga and I'll say like, oh yeah, this reminded me of this film, or this reminded me of that film, because like I'm such a huge movie buff, and I've been a movie buff since I was a young kid. So for me, like reading, Tatsuki Fujimoto's work and seeing that he has like this massive love for cinema is incredible to me, because I'm the same way. Like I have a huge love for cinema, but then I also love, like reading manga. So seeing somebody that's a huge, cinephile, and, putting maybe even like putting odes, to certain films. Like I'm pretty sure, I can't remember Fire Punch because I read Fire Punch almost like 2 years ago now. I'm pretty sure it's been like, almost like 2 years since I read Fire Punch. But I remember like that he did, put like references to a bunch of films in Fire Punch. And I just think that this dude's work is phenomenal. But yeah, Love is Blind was a lot of fun. Love is Blind was a lot of fun. It reminded me so much of, Love is Blind reminded me of Kaguya-sama Love is War. And I don't want to spoil any of the stories in this thing, so all I'll say is like, there's this scene where like, this kid is getting mugged. In that story, there's this kid who's getting mugged, and he's like, this can wait. He's like, you mugging me can wait. I'm trying to confess my love to this girl. And it reminded me so much of like something that would happen. Like I could see that happening in Kaguya-sama Love is War. And there's like these like escalating, like the whole situation with him trying to confess to this girl just escalates each time with something worse happening. And he's just like, this can wait. I'm trying to confess my love. And I loved it. I thought it was hilarious. And the other one about the dude stopping a bullet was great too. And that's the one that features the scene that reminded me of Man Bites Dog. And yeah, I mean, like it does bug me. That bothers me a little bit. But you know what? It might even help to sell, because I know there's a lot of people that probably don't know who Tatsuki Fujimoto is. They know Chainsaw Man because of the anime, and they probably never read manga. And they're just like anime onlys or whatever. And there's nothing wrong, with being an anime only. But yeah, there's probably people that haven't, read it, and they maybe don't know who Tatsuki Fujimoto is, and seeing by the dude who made Chainsaw Man, that'll prompt them to check it out. So maybe it is, like a solid, marketing strategy to grab more people and to have more people check out Tatsuki Fujimoto's work. But being, that I'm just like one of those people that like I feel like an artist's name should be enough to sell something, but sometimes you have to put that, like even with films too, it'll say by like the producers or by the director of insert film, and they'll be like, oh, so this person had involvement in it or whatever. So this is the part where I start talking about like what I would actually fully recommend. This is something I would recommend if you already like Akasaka's work, because I couldn't get into it. And I haven't read Kaguya-sama Love is War, but I did watch the anime and I enjoyed the anime, so that's the reason I checked this out. So I mean, I would recommend it if you're already a fan, or if you like the idol thing, the idol culture thing, and you maybe want to see a little bit more inside of the goings on, and how someone becomes an idol and the expectations of idols, and the fact that you will run into like crazy fans that will not be nice people, that will try to hurt you. And that is a thing that is definitely prevalent in this story. So I mean, I'd recommend it if you already like this mangaka's work. But personally, I wouldn't really, like, if I saw this in the store, I wouldn't tell a friend of mine to pick it up. This one I would tell people to pick up. This is really good, and sadly it's only going to be like 2 or 3 volumes, but I thought it was really solid. Yuji Kaku is a phenomenal mangaka. His artwork is really unique. It's really gritty and really dark and really brutal, though it's not nearly as brutal here because this is for teens, and it's so much darker in like Hell's Paradise. So if anything, I would probably tell you to check out like Hell's Paradise, but support this just because it's only going to be like 2 or 3 volumes, and then that's it. There may never be any more of it. This I'm probably going to sell. I'm not going to hold on to this. There's really no reason for me to keep this. I'm not trying to hate on it, and I don't want to be mean to this creator because I think because it does a lot of work to write, because I do write myself. I've written and published novels, and it is like super time consuming, and it's taken me like literally a year just to write one novel. And I can't even imagine like writing a story and on top of that drawing it. So it's a lot of time and effort that this person spent to create this thing, but it just wasn't for me. And it looks like there is a fan base for it, and you know, there's like a lot more to come, and it's still an ongoing series. So you know what, good for this creator, and you know, I wish them the best, you know, in their future endeavors and with continuing to create the series. So yeah, I wouldn't recommend it though, because like I personally wasn't a fan of it. Sweet Poolside, I would recommend if you already just like Shuzo Oshimi. But as a newcomer, I think you'll still enjoy it because it's super weird. But I definitely wouldn't recommend this as a starting point to Shuzo Oshimi's work. I'd recommend like Happiness or something, you know, or like Welcome Back, Alice. I think those are like a little bit better. But it's still a good story, and I have no complaints whatsoever. I'm going to finish it probably today just so that I can get that bookmark out of there and add it to my read pile. This one I highly recommend. I highly, supremely, like, no holds barred, recommend you to read 1721. I even kept this for last because I had the most that I wanted to say about it, and every story that I've read so far in this has been incredible, and I can't wait to get my hands on the other one, which is like 22 through 26 or something like that. I can't wait to get my hands on that one. It should be out soon. Goodbye Harry, I think, will be out soon as well. And my goal is to collect everything that Tatsuki Fujimoto does, because I want to do like a big video just about Tatsuki Fujimoto and talk about his work and talk about everything that he's done. So yeah, I really do highly recommend this because it collects, for the most part, this man's youth. He's still pretty young. I don't even think he's 30 yet, which is really cool, man. The dude's I don't even think he's 30, and he's just had such a prolific career in such a short amount of time. And I have zero complaints about anything that I've read by him that he's done. I don't think I've read, even in this collection, a single story that I thought like, wow, this is weak. Everything in it has been pretty strong. So those are the 5 manga that I've been reading recently. And I don't know when I'm going to do another one of these. Probably like summer. Summer will probably be the next one. So in like 3 or 4 months, or yeah, something like that. I'll probably do it in like June. Probably drop it around that time. So please let me know what your thoughts are. Have you read any of these? Have you read all 5 of these? Do you plan on checking any of these out? Yeah, those are the 5 that I have read recently that I wanted to talk about, and I hope that you have enjoyed these, any one of these, or like I said, leave me a comment letting me know what your opinions are, what your thoughts are, where you're at, how you're doing. What did you do this weekend? What do you have planned for this weekend? I usually drop these videos on a Friday, so what are your weekend plans? Are you going to take a trip? Are you going to do anything with your family? What are you up to? How you been? Please take care of yourselves. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. It means the absolute world that you took time out of your day to come and spend it with me, because you could have literally been doing anything else with your day, and instead you chose to spend that time with me, and I am grateful to you for it. So please take care.
By the hands of God, I stand as a wrench between your wheelie cog, fastening my belt, bracing myself to withstand against all odds. Himself shadow runners, battle ready, murder dogs, rip the skin off your horses, triumph and smash the sorceress, lethal forces. The failure of your ambitions is more painful than divorces. Smash your dome piece on the doorway, when the door hits, that's it, call it quits. Zipped up in plastic, cremated, melted like elastic. Dreams don't mean shit, in this life they don't exist.